Residents outraged and a school closed after yet another fire at the city dump. Brandville McCartney and DNA members protest over the arrest of a Cabbage Beach vendor. A local doctor says he has a few concerns with NHI. Plus, a bridal show taking place this weekend will show off the latest in wedding and formal wear. We've got those stories and a lot more coming up tonight. I'm Dana Smith, and MV12 starts right now. Unlivable, and a nightmare are some of the words Jubilee Garden residents used today to describe the situation they've become all too familiar with, living in a residential area not far from the New Providence landfill, which, according to one resident, catches fire every 3 months. And after no word from the government or the company responsible for managing the landfill, some say they have no choice but to pack up and leave their home of 10 years. And as you'll hear in this report from Kyle Joaquin, one school also found itself closing its doors today as a result.
Students here at Aquinas College were sent home early this morning, not because of a special assembly or midterm break or anything, but if you were to look just over to the east, the smoke coming from the New Providence landfill made it unbearable for the students. The Aquinas College campus was a ghost town today just after students were sent home. Conditions on campus reportedly became unfit for the students who were greeted by smoke billowing from the New Providence landfill. When we arrived just after 11, the last bunch of students were huddled in the office waiting to be picked up by parents. But over in Jubilee Gardens, just behind the landfill, people actually have to live in that condition. It's 11 a.m. and I'm standing in Jubilee Gardens. And as you can see all around me, the smoke is so thick that you can barely see any of the homes. But this is just something that residents of this area have to deal with whenever the New Providence landfill is on fire.
I didn't notice it when I came home last night, but through my sleep, I keep hearing this crackling sound. And then I looked out.
Hours later, you can still see the smoke in the distance there burning.
Yes, the smoke is still there, but it was worse this morning. You could see it was red. Through the trees, you can see it, and it was, look close, it was terrible.
I don't want to be out here right now, but inside my house ain't no better.
But this is something that you all have to deal with on a regular basis.
We have to deal with this every 3 months, like I told you from the last time. See, they're bellowing up. We have to deal with this every 3 months for at least 3 to 4 weeks a time. 3 to 4 weeks, and it's no relief. You can't sit in this all day, all night, because last night I couldn't sleep. And this is really bad.
For Tanya Munker, she's had enough. This mother of a special needs child was just hospitalized this past Friday for lung complications. And after living in this area since 2005, she believes it's time to pack up and move.
I'm seeing my specialist now. At the end of the day, we'll know what the results are. But the smoke isn't making it any easier. So we have to see what happens, because this is getting serious, very serious. Well, moving right now would have to be my next move, because if this problem continues, you can't live through this. You're not going to live very long through this. So moving has to be my next step. I have a special son, and now I have issues with my lungs. So moving would have to be my next step.
Heather Carey lives in the Sandyport area, but says the smoke makes its way to her home, which is why she purchased a mask and started a movement to have the matter addressed.
I just think it's the beginning of what's going to happen for the next year. It's pretty sad and pathetic that there seems to have been no change, no improvement at the dump. I don't accept that arsonists start these, arsonists or whatever. We have to do better.
Definitely what we're experiencing today. Barely could open your eyes, barely could breathe. We have to bring some resolution to this issue. As I speak to the people here, they've been saying over and over again that they've been making promises and nothing has happened.
When our news team arrived at the New Providence landfill, you could see the fire blazing on top of a mountain of garbage, with tractors trying to cover it with dirt. No fire trucks could be seen anywhere nearby. But in going to Renew Bahamas to meet with officials there, we ran into the Member of Parliament for the constituency in which Jubilee Gardens falls. He was there seeking answers as well.
Now, we've been dealing with this now for the last several years, and we've been promised over and over that is going to be corrected. Hopefully these new people that came in and took over the dump, I thought it's really correct. I was actually feeling good because I had spoken to Ken Dorset for us to expand Jubilee 1 and 3, but putting new houses there. Just, not maybe about a quarter mile away from the dump, but extending Jubilee 3. And I'm surprised really and very disappointed. Now we got to find out the cause of the fire. Have you spoken with them yet?
And that we did. Michael Cox, the chief operating officer for Renew Bahamas, said this latest fire came about as crews were actually battling another blaze. He said, unfortunately, they expect to be fighting this fire until Friday.
The guys took a break at about 10:30, 11:15 last night. They came down from their, had their break and went back up. When they went back up, they found that a fire had been started in a different area, where you can see just behind us, we have a one-way system, and it was started on the bottom corner of the one-way system, where people had thrown waste on the side of the road.
Cox says they believe this was the work of an arsonist. But as for what he would say to those residents in Jubilee Gardens, the students at Aquinas College, and other nearby residents and businesses,
I'm not sure I can say anything to fears and concerns. We're working really hard through the night with at least 8 people each night, and we've been doing so for over a week. We've got workers and families who live in Jubilee Gardens and further down in Pine Gardens, and we're working really hard, speaking with them, to get the smoke out and try and get the smoke to stop going over to their area. We're really sorry that it affects them, and we're going to put our utmost into getting this done.
again, residents of this area are calling for either someone from the government or Renew Bahamas to address the issue immediately. Reporting from Jubilee Gardens for NB12. I'm Kyle Joaquin.
Members of the Democratic National Alliance launched a protest outside the Paradise Island police station today after learning that a supporter was charged in connection with the destruction of the fence at Cabbage Beach last week. While crying shame on the government, party leader Granville McCartney said his law firm will represent that supporter in court later this week. Simone Davis reports.
DNA leaders arrived at the Paradise Island police station with checkbook in hand, prepared to cover the cost of the damaged fence at Cabbage Beach. This as one of the party's own supporters, Irvin Moxie, was called into the station for questioning in connection with the incident and later charged with 3 counts.
Damage to property, namely the fence, resisting arrest, and I think assaulting a police officer. All of those matters have been denied by Mr. Moxie.
After several arrests were made over the weekend, 9 people turned themselves into authorities yesterday after learning that they were wanted for allegedly playing a role in the destruction of the fence that once blocked access to the western end of Cabbage Beach. However, upon arrival, they learned that only 3 of them were actually wanted. Political activist and radio personality Lincoln Bain was among those arrested. According to McCartney, who is Moxie's attorney, Moxie is scheduled to appear in magistrate's court on Thursday for his hearing, but was released on police bail this afternoon. The DNA leader said he believes the entire ordeal is a tactic by the government to discourage Bahamians from protesting.
This is the same PLP government in 1967 under Sir Lyndon Pinlin who protested for the rights of black people in this country. Who could have protested more than the PLP? And now they are turning the tables on their Bahamian people and trying to use tactics to scare them from protesting. Protesting the same way they protested back in 1967 with Sir Lyndon Pinling and Milo Butler for the rights of Bahamian people.
McCartney also questioned why Moxie and other residents were charged with destruction, alleging that no complaints were filed by the owners of the fence.
He was brought down here today without a complaint being made by the owners of that property or the owners of that gate. The complaint was made by a security officer who do not, they certainly don't own that property, they do not own the gate. That is a total violation, I thought, in charging anybody when the virtual complainant is not even the owner or a leasee or has no interest in the gate.
The DNA leader said the party is also prepared to pay for any damage to the fence to avoid other residents from facing legal charges. He also noted that Bahamians have a right to protest against any injustice in their own country.
We in the Bahamas have a right to protest. The DNA believe firmly that it ought to be nonviolent and it ought not to be destructive. We believe that. We believe that we have freedom of assembly, and that is our constitutional right.
Reporting for NB12, I'm Simone Davis.
With the first phase of national health insurance set to be introduced in April, former Vice President of the Medical Association of the Bahamas, Dr. Eugene Marcus Cooper, says after this year's medical conference, concerns about NHI linger. Giorgio Bain reports.
Former Vice President of the Medical Association of the Bahamas, Dr. Eugene Marcus Cooper, says he doesn't recommend that any private policyholders cancel their private health insurance for national health insurance just yet, as it could actually mean longer lines for those persons with national health insurance plans.
When healthcare is free or less expensive, more people will access the system. And when you have more people accessing the system, you're going to have longer lines. And so as we make a transition to universal health coverage, those people who may not have been accessing the system before because of lack of funds will now have the opportunity to do so. And so we will see an increase in utilization for health resources and healthcare.
That, along with expected longer lines, Dr. Cooper says he would recommend people with personal health insurance to keep them.
No, I wouldn't recommend that anybody cancel their private health insurance policy yet. I know there's significant concern with persons who get private health insurance through their employer. If their employer is going to drop their private insurance because a less expensive alternative is available, I would definitely, rethink that position. We need to wait and see what happens and make sure that the product that's going to be provided is a quality product.
Dr. Cooper says there are many issues from the conference that he has yet to see be touched on in the discussions about national health insurance in the Bahamas. Some of those issues include financing, how the insurance plan will affect illegal immigrants, and what about the tourists who get injured in the country on vacation? How will the insurance affect them?
Some of the challenges that he mentioned are the challenges with immigration and being a tourist destination. How do you care for people who end up getting sick in your country when they don't really reside here? Challenges with financing and sustainability. So these are some of the issues that we really have to look at and how it's going to affect us in the long term, keeping in mind that we want to have a patient-centered approach so that we're providing the best care for our patients.
Dr. Cooper also spoke to the issue of overburdened public health care outlets and recommends that this issue be resolved before moving forward.
Currently, we have one public hospital here in New Providence, and it's overburdened. We have minimal staff in some areas. We have minimal equipment, and we have lots of people who need to use it. And in order for the public to get quality health care, I don't think we have so much a problem with access right now. If you get into the public system, you will be seen, but the quality of care that you get is debatable.
Dr. Cooper says we will also have to re-examine the model that was chosen to fashion NHI after. He feels that we should step away from the two-tier system, as it may not be the best choice for customer care.
The patient-centered medical home model that's been proposed, there's still some concerns as to whether that model is best suited for the country. There seems to be some issues about its restrictive nature. But these are issues that still need to be addressed.
Dr. Cooper says his goal for NHI is to keep the patient at the center of universal health care. Reporting for NB12, I'm Giorgio Bain.
Police need the public's help in locating two men who are wanted for questioning in reference to murder. The first is 23-year-old Jamal Bain, also known as Strap, of Peter Street, Sister Mary Ramin Drive in Millennium Gardens. Bain is a dark man with a slim build and stands at about 5 foot to 5'6" in height. Bain is wanted for questioning in reference to a recent murder that occurred at Fleming Street. The second suspect is 19-year-old Terrence Roll of Young Street, who is wanted for questioning in reference to a recent murder that occurred in Fox Hill. Roll is a medium brown man with a slim build and stands at about 6 feet in height. Police say these men are considered to be armed and dangerous, and police advise the public not to approach them. Instead, contact police immediately with any information. Police also wish to remind members of the public that it is a criminal offense to harbor these individuals, and those providing a safe haven for these criminals will be prosecuted. Anyone knowing the whereabouts of either of these men, no matter how small or insignificant the tip may seem, is urged to anonymously contact the police at 919 or Crime Stoppers at 328-TIPS.